If you feel like you're drowning in debt, believe me, you are not alone. I was able to pay off over $20,000 in debt on a low income. And mind you, not only just a low income, but also a single income. I was able to pay off that debt. And while doing that, I've been able to remain debt free for the past 4 years. And I just want you to know it is very much achievable and obtainable. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through the steps on how I was able to become debt free and remain debt free. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, kick back and relax, grab those planners or those notebooks to take notes, and let's get started on this debt free journey right now. All right, welcome to today's video. If you are new here, my name is Chris. This is Budgeting Just Because, where we talk all things budgeting related to help us reach our financial freedom that much faster and that much smarter. And today, like I said, not only are we going to discuss how to become debt free, but we're also going to discuss how to remain debt free. So let's get started with step number 1, which is one of the most important steps. You got to know what you owe. If you're ready to tackle that debt and get it paid off, the first thing you need to do is write down every debt that you owe. You cannot guesstimate. You cannot, think this is what you owe. No, you have to go to each creditor, get your total balance, get your total interest, and write that down. You can put it in an Excel spreadsheet. You can put it on a notebook. You can put it in your planner. But the most important thing to do is to get those true amounts, because that's going to help you set up how you're going to pay off this debt. I remember when I did this, and most of my debt was mostly credit cards. I went to every credit card website, logged in, got that remaining balance, got what my interest was. I wrote it down in a notebook. I wrote everything down in a notebook, their name, the amount, the interest rate, so I could truly know what it was that I owed before I can start tackling how to pay off my debt. The reason we do this, it gives you full control of what you owe, and it helps you get a mental picture on how you're going to tackle getting this debt paid off. And sometimes I know this can be hard for people because facing those numbers is kind of like facing reality. You start wondering, oh my God, how did I let this get out of control like that? You can't think that way. Put those thoughts to the side because it's time to get serious. Just write it down, face facts. It's done. Now we're getting ready to take care of it. I'm telling you, I went through that, because when you write those numbers down, it's like, I cannot believe I let this get ran up like this again. I know it's hard, but you got to write out all of those numbers in order to effectively pay off your debt. Now, once you have everything written down, this is when you decide which debt payoff method you'll choose. I know you all are familiar with debt snowball, debt avalanche. You can do a little bit of both. I even had Leroy from 40 and Broke, a fellow YouTuber, say he pays off his debt based off of stress. Whichever one gives him the most stress, that's who he takes care of. That's who he takes care of first. Whichever method helps you, that's what you decide right then and there how you're going to pay off this debt. Myself personally, I did the debt snowball method. The reason why I decided to use the debt snowball method is because you pay off your lowest balance to your largest balance. And that just made it feel like a win for me. It made it seem just more obtainable if I knocked off those smaller balances first and got them out of the way, and I can pay them off in a shorter period of time, and then I can tackle the other one. So again, it doesn't matter what method you use. They're all great methods, but you have to decide on which method you're going to use to get the process going. Now, this next step is key. This is your debt timeline, and this is a big step in this process that really helped me. After you figure out how much you owe and which method you're going to use, it's time to create a timeline on how you're going to get it paid off. So what I did is, when I decided on which method I was going to use and how I was going to get those cards paid off, then I wrote out a calendar. And the purpose of the calendar was, okay, now I got to set a goal on when I'm going to get that paid off. Let's just say my first smallest debt was like $500. I said to myself, okay, I'm getting this paid off in the next 90 days. So I made a timeline when that 90 days was, to keep it in front of me so I can look at it to know by this date, this is when I'm going to have this debt paid off. And then I did it for the next debt. I looked at, okay, I paid off this one in the 90 days. That's going to kickstart the next debt. And what is going to be the timeline for that? Timelines are crucial. You need timelines because timelines make it serious. Some of us don't make it past steps 1 and 2. But when you do, that timeline is critical. You've got to set goals on when you're going to pay this off. One of the best ways to do this, if you want, I have links to debt calculators in my description box. Go ahead and check those debt calculators out. They're so helpful because you can put in how much debt you owe and when you want to pay it off. And it will let you know if that's possible or not. Then it's going to let you know, okay, well, that may not be possible because that's probably going to take you this long as opposed to the time frame you thought it was going to take you. But it's going to calculate for you how long it's going to take. So whether you write it down or use a debt calculator, this step is very important to help keep you on track on getting that debt paid off. All right, now steps 4 and 5 are really, really critical as it relates to paying off your debt. This is what I like to call roadblocks on most of our journeys. Let's start with step 4. Now, once we get to step 4, this is when we need to decide, most of us, especially those on a low income, do we need extra money to help us pay off this debt? And this is where a lot of people get stuck because this is where you're going to have to make an effort, whatever that effort may be, to get extra income to help you pay off that debt. So for instance, on my journey, I knew that the money I was making from my paycheck alone was not going to get me out of debt. Not in a way that was going to be timely enough that I wanted to get it done. It probably was going to take a lot longer. So I had to make the choice. How was I going to make extra income? How was that going to impact my family? How could I get it done? One of the ways I did it was at the time we had overtime in my department. So I was able to sign up for all of the overtime. And when I tell you I signed up for all the overtime, I signed up for all of the overtime, okay? Next thing I did was I signed up to DoorDash. I DoorDash every day of the week. And I know that sounds crazy, but I was on a mission. Listen, when you're on a mission to get your debt paid, you want it to make sense. Don't kill yourself trying to get it done. But I was on a mission. Something sparked in me like, we're getting this taken care of. So I probably DoorDash every day of the week. On the weekend, I would go out for the lunch rush and the dinner rush just so I can get this debt paid off. So this is the part where you sit down and you decide if it's possible for you to get your debt paid off with the income you're making now. And if so, how long will that take? Or do you need extra income coming in to help you achieve this goal of becoming debt free? This is a critical step, but you've got to make that decision. Now, I said steps 4 and 5 was the hardest part. Step 5 is you got to watch your spending. Now, that's why I said these 4 and 5 are hard parts in your debt journey because this is when your mental kicks in. You understand what I'm saying? Like steps 4 and 5, making more money, and then step 5, watching your spending. This is when your mental will try to get you to say you can't do it. This is when your mental is going to say, go ahead, you can order that extra food. Don't worry about it. Or go ahead, you can spend all that money on that new bag, whatever it may be. Is that how your mental talks to you? But anyway, this is so important because this is where you got to have to learn how to cut back. And I don't mean cut off. I mean cut back. So what you would normally spend every week, you want to cut that down. What you would normally spend on eating out, you want to cut that back. What you would normally spend on personal items, you got to look at different ways to pay for it. Start cutting coupons, looking for discounts, who has sales. Maybe you have to put forth a little effort. Whatever it is, this is where you're going to have to start looking at your spending patterns because you can't try to pay off debt. You can't bring in more income to try to pay off that debt, but you still have a lot of money going out. So this is where you have to make those decisions on how to cut back. Remember, cut back, not cut off. How to cut back to help you along on your journey. Now, this next step is the most important step to me and has remained the most important step, and it is sinking funds. Sinking funds have helped me so much on my journey. Not so much on the paying off the debt journey, but the staying out of debt journey. I, to this day, prioritize sinking funds as being my number one way to budget. I will never stop using sinking funds. They have helped me tremendously. When I first learned what a sinking fund was, which is saving for planned expenses, it has helped me budget and understand my budget and how it relates to saving money for those planned expenses, you have no idea on this debt journey, once you become debt free, how those sinking funds are going to help you. You will see that putting money away in different categories to help cover whatever those planned expenses are, or just planning for expenses in general. How many of you all actually, before you started your journey, planned for an expense? I never planned for an expense. It was always a shock. I knew when it was due, but when it was due, it was like, oh my God, I got to pay this. Not anymore. Sinking funds help alleviate that. So when you're on this debt journey, I'm telling you right now, get you some sinking funds, and get you sinking funds that make sense on your journey. And then finally, on your debt-free journey, and I know this is, we talk about this a lot, especially on our lives, but get in the habit of automating your money. It really is a lifesaver. It really saves you time. Have those bills automated so they are automatically removed from your account. There is not a threat of spending that money. It's already gone. Set up payment dates and payment schedules to help you stay on track on getting your bills paid off. Did you know you can negotiate with your credit card companies on when your bill is paid? That's one of the main things that I did on my debt-free journey. I took a look at when I was getting paid, what bills were coming out each paycheck, and when I had the most money to apply towards those bills. So once you start this debt-free journey, look at when those bills come out as it relates to when you get paid. You know, you don't want a credit card due this day and this day and this day all over the calendar. That's hard to manage, right? But if you group it on a certain day and you get that set up with how you get paid, so that you are in control, not the other way around. Remember, these credit cards are not in control. And when you become debt free, you need to remember that. You control these credit cards and how they're paid and what they stand for, not the other way around. We're getting rid of credit cards controlling us. Once you do that, that helps you control your budget and how things are set up. And it really does relieve some of that stress and anxiety. So one of the things you want to look into is just automating those payments. Let those payments come out, that money's gone, and you can focus on what really matters, which is staying out of debt and making sure those bills are getting paid on time. Now, once you follow all those steps and you are on your journey to becoming debt free, and maybe you follow those steps and now you are debt free, let's talk about staying debt free. Now, I can honestly tell you, this last time when I paid off my debt, it wasn't the first time. You know how many times I paid off my debt and I was debt free just to run all those bills back up again? It's ridiculous and it's shameful, right? But this last time I was like, no more. You're getting too over that. You know, it comes a point in life when you get too over stuff. Like, okay, why are you still acting like that? It's time to grow up. And this last time I was so serious. So now, how do you remain debt free, right? Well, I'm going to tell you. One of the ways you're going to remain debt free, like I just mentioned, are sinking funds. Sinking funds are a game changer. Another way you're going to remain debt free is, you guys hear me say this all the time, and this is totally a choice up to you. Now you focus on your emergency fund. When you're paying off debt, pay off that debt. Now, of course, you want to make sure you have a nest egg. You want to make sure you have a nest egg because you never know what may happen. Once you pay off that debt, now it's time to get serious about your emergency fund, because all of that extra money you were putting towards that debt, now that's money you have. Now it's time to take that money seriously and start building your savings. Now, it's another way that you're going to remain debt free is you got to have a fund envelope. Y'all, I know y'all are like, Chris, that's all you talk about is the fund envelope. But let me tell you something. If you don't save for fun is going to pop up and it's going to put you back in debt. Fun is so critical, and fun can mean anything. I don't mean going out and partying and doing all that. Fun means whatever is important to you, where you have a good time. It could be movie night with your family. It could mean going to an amusement park. It could just mean anything. It could mean crafting. Whatever it may mean to you, you've got to save for it. Because if you don't save for it, guess what's going to happen? You're going to reach over for that credit card, and the next thing you know, that debt is going to start to build up again. So if you save and plan for it, you can have all the fun in the world. That goes for travel too. Take your vacations, but save for them. Save for them. Put money to the side so you can enjoy yourself. Don't deprive yourself. Don't don't deprive yourself and don't deprive your family. And finally, to remain debt free, which has helped me on my journey, again, you're going to have to track those expenses and you're going to have to do check-ins. You got to stay on top of your money. When you don't stay on top of your money starts to control you and you start to let loose of your money and you don't know where it's going and you don't know what happened. That's when your money starts to take control. If you want to remain debt free, it doesn't stop once you pay off your debt. Believe me, when I paid off my debt, it didn't stop. I didn't stop budgeting. I didn't stop planning just because my goal was to pay off that debt. No, I continuously do it since I've been debt free for 4 years, going on 5 years. I didn't stop once the money was paid off. Now you plan a different way. Now you plan on, okay, how can I save this money and be prepared for this or that instead of being in shock when something happens. So you got to do those check-ins. You got to track your expenses. You've got to stay on top of your money and think of ways of how you can invest it so you do not have to worry about ever being in debt again. All right, you guys. So that is my video. Those are my steps on how to become debt free and stay debt free. And if you guys click in the description box below and you go visit my Buy Me a Coffee page, I have all kind of trackers in there to help you track your expenses, help you track your debt, sinking fund trackers, whatever it is you need to help you stay in control of your money. Go visit my Buy Me a Coffee page and download it, and it's totally free. I want to thank you guys for watching my video today. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Please make sure you hit that like button. This video is the first of many that's going to kick off my budgeting series on how to save big in the new year. You guys have got this. If you are on that debt-free journey, you've got this. And I know you can do it. Believe you me, if I was able to do it, I know you can do it. And I'm going to be here cheering you along the way. So that's my video for today, guys. And I will see you back here next week. Bye.